Hey everybody, Charlie, Dev Environment, welcome back. Today we're going to do a live coding test for a memory game. So for anyone who's ever played a memory game before, it's basically you have a bunch of pairs of cards and they'll all be face down. You click them and match the pairs. And then the goal is to match all the pairs from memory or some trial and error that kind of happens. So here you can see all the cards just kind of rendered out. This is just like a very blank page. There's nothing you can do. You can't click on anything. It's just totally useless. Let's go over the rules really fast. So users are presented with 10 pairs of matching cards, 20 cards in total, and they're presented in random order. So it's a 5x4 grid, and so there's 10 pairs to make up 20 cards. The cards are displayed for 3 seconds, then they all flip over and hide their values. So you'll have all the cards here, and they'll be face up for 3 seconds, and then they're all going to flip down, and then that's when the game begins. And to start matching, users can turn over 2 cards at a time. So if the cards match, they should indicate a match and stay turned over. And if they don't match, they should both be flipped back over, and you continue selecting. So it goes back. So you can reveal them, but then they flip back over. The user continues this methodology until all the cards are solved. Okay, so there's some tasks to complete. So this, a lot like a lot of front-end coding tests, this one's going to give you some just like basic boilerplate code. So here we just have a basic app file, which is like our game component, I guess. And in here we have all the cards, but they're all hard-coded. So we don't want to have that. We want to have them dynamic because we're going to need to shuffle them and then display them randomly. We have a helper file, which is just all of our symbols pre-selected, so we don't have to worry about selecting them. So there's 10 symbols here. And then we have just a really basic card component, which is what we see here. And so it has an on-click handler, and it has just a symbol, which is just being displayed in the middle of it. So our tasks are create a methodology for the cards to be displayed on the screen with 10 matching pairs in random order. So we have to make an array of 20, display them dynamically, shuffle them, and have them randomly displayed onto the screen. Create a way for the cards to be flipped from front to back. So this is really interesting for front-end devs, just because like we're used to like two-dimensional work, but here we have kind of like a flipping of the cards. On the front, we'll have the symbol. On the back will just be the back of a card. Display the cards face up for 3 seconds at the beginning of the game. So they should be displayed all visible to the user for 3 seconds, and then all flip over to the back. And that's when the game begins. Allow 2 cards at most to be flipped at a time. So we can only flip 2 cards at a time, and if they match, we match them. If they don't match, we flip them back over. So there, and then the last is allow the restart button to restart the application. So clicking this button down here should restart the application. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so first up is create a methodology for the cards to be displayed on the screen with 10 matching pairs in random order. So we have all of the symbols here, and as we saw before, we have all the cards just hard-coded here. So let's make a function, export function, and let's call it shuffle cards. And so this function is going to be returning us an array of length 20. So we see that we have all the symbols here. We need each symbol twice, right? So what's an easy way to do that? Well, we could just spread in symbols twice, right? And that'll give us an array of 20. Oh, I don't know why I did the capital symbols. And then what we want to do is we need to make this randomly distributed, right? So we can use the sort method, and in the sort method, what we can do is just an arrow function, and we'll just go math.random, and then we're just going to subtract 0.5. And so that's going to give us just like a random sorting. It's going to have a 50% chance of shuffling the cards, and it's just going to make like a big assorted array. And then right now what this is going to return is just like an array with all the symbols, right? But we might need some more data based on the state of if the card's flipped or not, or that kind of stuff. So I'm actually going to map this, and then I'm going to get the symbol. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to return an object just right now with just the symbol. And then so that will give us that. And then so here, we don't need the symbols anymore. We can just take the shuffle cards function that we just created. And then I'm actually going to use state here too. So const, I'll go cards and set cards, and that's going to equal use state, and this will allow us to update our state of the cards. And then now we don't need all these hard-coded ones, because now we can dynamically go cards.map, and we're just going to take the card, and then we can just return some JSX, and I'm just going to literally copy this card component. And we're also going to need the index too. And instead of symbol that we were using before, we can just go c.symbol, because now we have that object. And we're just going to add a key as well, so it doesn't yell at me, just of the index. And we can get rid of all of these cards. Bam. And so now on the screen, we can see that we're just randomly loading the cards. I'm probably going to use the refresh altogether, but like one of the easiest things is allow the restart button to restart the application. Super easy way to do this. Just make an on-click handler. There's a lot of ways you could do this, but this is one of the easiest ways ever. It's just location.reload. Why not just reload the page when it happens? So if you click, then it just reloads. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Okay, so cool. So we have all of this. We're also going to need an on-click handler. And the on-click handler is going to have like a decent amount of logic. And so actually what I'm going to do, rather than just like do it all at the top of the component, it gets a little messy, is I'm just going to make a hooks file. And I'm just going to make a new hook called use cards just before this starts growing. And I'm just going to grab this. I'm just going to export default function, use cards, and I'm just going to return, just for right now, the cards here. And I'm just going to grab just all of this, paste it in. I don't need this, I don't need this. And the helper's path changed. And now I can get rid of this and get rid of this, and I can import use cards. And then here, I can just go const cards equals use cards. There we go. It just cleans it up a lot, puts a lot of the logic here into this hook that we can use. And so now, which is nice, I'm just going to restart the server just because like sometimes when you add the hooks in, it starts kind of freaking out a little bit. And so, oh, this doesn't need to be a TSX either. This should be the TS file. There we go. And now it's failing to reload because I changed the file name. All right, restart. There we go. Okay. So now we have the methodology for the cards. So create a way for the cards to be flipped from front to back. So we have the on-click handler, but really, if you look at the card component, we have an on-click and we have a symbol, but we should pass like a status, and that'll be the status of the card, right? So what are the statuses going to be? Well, like, oh, sorry, string, not status. Oh, yeah. So there's going to be face down, right? There's going to be a face up. And then you might actually have a status of like if the cards match, maybe you want to show some indication there, right? So there's going to be a few of those. So in this, let's like take the status as a prop, and then the symbol. So when it's face down, we're not going to be displaying the symbol. When it's face up, we are though, right? So like let's go status equals face down. If it is, then let's display just an empty string. Else, let's display the symbol. And so what we can do is we can just pass status equals face down just to see how that works. And now you can see the symbols go away. If the status is face up, then the symbols are back. Cool. So like we kind of have a state for face down and face up. And maybe like when it was face down, the only thing that was kind of weird there was that it still looked like a card, it just was missing a thing. So let's maybe show something more visual. So let's do like a background color. And I'm just going to take in a prop, which means that I'm going to have to import, it means I'm going to have to import status string, just get the typings. And then so here, we'll take p.status, and this actually also needs status. Status equals status. And then p.status, so if it's face down, then we want to display something, and if it's face up, we want to have another color. I'm just going to do white if it's face up, and I'm going to grab a color from the screen. I'm just going to grab this color here. So if it's face down, let's make it have a purple background. If it's face up, then it should go back to white. Let's see if that's working. Yep. Okay, cool. And then also, if it's matched, we want to have something a little bit different too. So matched, let's make it, maybe let's do like the border color, just as some sort of indication that that's happening. So I'm just going to grab this, and if I go matched, then gonna grab another color from the screen. I'll go the orange maybe. And so if it's matched, let's do the orange. If it's not, let's do violet. And then so now, I don't know if you can see, if I zoom in, when it's matched, they're like orange. If it's face up, then it's the violet color. Cool. So that's good. Now we need to actually kind of make things flip. So first of all, I was just going to go into the helper. So where we had symbol here, I'm also going to add a status. And right now it's just going to be face up, just to begin, because that's kind of what it was. And then actually in our hook, what we needed to do is we needed to display the cards face up for 3 seconds, right? So let's go to our use cards hook, and I'm going to add a use effect. And this use effect is going to run in the beginning just once, so pass in an empty array. I'm just going to go set cards, right? And I'm going to take prev cards, let's call it. It's just like the previous state. I'm going to spread that into an array, and then I'm going to just map over it, and it's going to give me the card, and I'm going to return the card, and then I'm going to change the status to be face down, right? Because we want it to go back to face down. And then we need that to be, oops, sorry, kind of messing up with stuff. We need that actually to have a use, set timeout, right? Because it's 3 seconds. So we'll do a set timeout, and in the set timeout we'll do 3000 milliseconds. And then that way, it should be 1, 2, 3, and not happening. So see that status is face down. We're doing the set cards and the prev cards. Returning that. So let me refresh one more time. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're not setting the status dynamically. Maybe that would help. So C dot status. There we go. Okay, that's really better. Okay, so refresh. 1, 2, 3. Boom, down. Okay. Now that's very like, this isn't part of the coding test, but this is very boring. This UI, it's just like flip, like just one side and then bam, the other side. There's a really cool library called animate.css that I absolutely love. And it's got all these like funky little animations. Some that I love, like one of them's ta-da, so it's like woo, right? But one of them is this flip in Y, which I think would be perfect for what we're doing here. So I thought, why don't we use that library? So I'm just gonna stop the server for a second, go npm i-save animate.css. Spell that right? Yes. And then I'm just going to go into the main here. I'm just going to import animate.css. And then that way it's like globally available. So npm run dev, start it up again. And then what I can do is in my cards component here, what you can do is you can go animation. And then so I wanted that flip in Y, it was called. And then set like an animation duration, and let's do it for like 1 second. And then, so see how it flipped in? That was really cool, eh? So it's just like it flips in. But then one thing you need to add, because see it just like flipped back, is you need to add a key. And so I'm just gonna add, just cause like it'll trigger a re-render. And I'm just gonna take the status. So when the status updates, oops, status. So when the status updates, then it's gonna like trigger. So now we have 1, 2, 3, flip, right? So it's really cool. So now it's like they flip in and they flip out. It's really nice. Okay, so now we have the 3 seconds at the beginning of all face down. There's one thing that's gonna become, so like if I do like a const handle click, right, we're going to have a click handler. This is how we're gonna manually click the cards, right? And it's gonna take in an index, which is of type number, and I'm just gonna console.log the index. And I'm gonna take handle click and just put it here. And then so when I come into this part here and I go like import that handle click, and then here I go on click, and I want to do an arrow function. I'm gonna go handle click, and I'm gonna pass in the index, right? So now when I click, like even though technically I should be waiting right now, I can still click. So we need a way to like temporarily disable click functionality while we're waiting for the 3 seconds, right? Because we don't want to like start clicking cards there. So you can do this with state, but the best way to do this is with the useRef, because a state's going to trigger a re-render, which is just going to put us into a loop of chaos. So let's go const disabled, and I'm just going to use ref, and I'm going to set it to true by default. And then what I'm going to do is that at the end of this, .current, and I'm just going to set it to false, and then that way, in the beginning, when I'm waiting for the cards, it should, oh, right, we gotta do the logic. So if disabled.current, then we want to just return. And then that way the click functionality will be disabled while we're waiting, and then once it's good, then we can start clicking again, which is great. Okay. And so, oops, just close the README. I just got to see where I'm at. Disable the cards face up for 3 seconds, let them all face down. Okay, allow 2 cards at most to be flipped at a time. So how are we going to know that there's 2 cards flipped? You could have 2 state objects, like, you know, whatever. Or even easier is we could do kind of what we're doing with the disabled here. We could go const prev index and have another useRef. And then basically what this is just going to be, we'll set it to -1. It's just going to be the indexes of the cards. So if it's -1, it's outside of the array, right? Because the array starts at 0, goes to 19. It's the length of 20. So by setting it as -1, we're setting it outside of the array. So we know that if the prev index is -1, we know that there is no previous card selected, right? So that's like, that's awesome. That's good for us. So let's do that logic really fast. So first thing I want to do is I'm just going to try, I just call it like cur card, and that's going to be cards of the active index, the card that we clicked. I'm going to go const prev card, and so this is going to be the cards of prev index dot current, right? So we're going to try caching what the last card clicked was. If it doesn't exist, it's going to be undefined. But if it does exist, then we're going to have both the current card and the previous card, right? And so like this is a good time in the coding challenge, just like take a second and kind of think about what we need to do here. So the very first thing we need to do is like when you click on a card, we need it to flip, right? And so in order to get the card to flip, we should come up with a function, maybe like a reusable function that like we can update card statuses, because when, let's say we get a match, we want to update both of them to matched. If we don't get a match, then we're going to want to flip them back over. And if we get kind of a single card, like the first card flipped, then we want it to flip over as well, right? So it's like, I'm just going to create like a reusable update. Oh yeah, update card status. Jeez, I cannot spell or type right Okay, update card status. And so here, what are we going to take? We're gonna, so first of all, I'm going to take like a card array. I'm going to give myself the ability to take, so it's going to have a status of string, and it's going to have a symbol also of string. And so this is going to take in cards. It could be one card, it could be two cards. And then it's going to like do the update, and then it's also going to take the new status, and that's going to be a string. And so this function is just going to be like a helper, like utility function that we can use to kind of make things make sense, right? And so what we can do is like go like card array dot for each, right? And then so we take the card, and then what we want to do here is we want to take the card, update its status to, so we want to go like card dot status equals the new status that we're setting, right? And then we want to go set cards, and we're just gonna like pass in the cards. And so this will be like our helper function that we can kind of mess around with. So like let's use it right here. So first of all, we want to update the cards, and we want to update the current card, like the card that you just clicked, and we want to set the status to face up. So let's see how that goes. So we have the cards here just temporarily displaying, and then I click, and now we can flip the cards, right? I'm just gonna set this timeout to like something really quick, just while we're debugging, just because like it's too fast. So there we go. Yeah. So yeah, we can click like super quick, and we can get the cards, right? So that's a great functionality. That's just kind of like the most basic thing. But then we're gonna have just some scenarios. Sorry, I just need some water. We're gonna have some scenarios that are gonna come up where it's like, okay, but then what happens if the card is, what if you click the same card twice, right? Like, what if I just like click the same card twice? Like, we don't want that to like, because technically that would be like a match if we were comparing the symbols, right? Or, yeah, like I mean, there's like all kinds of little things. So we need to start doing some checks, right? And so I guess like here, what we can do is like, first of all, if we don't have the prev card, we can't do anything, right? Because if it's the first card clicked, like we don't need to do any further logic. You're just flipping the card, and that's good enough, right? It's the second card that really matters. And then also, what if like the prev index dot current equals like kind of what I was just saying, the index, right? And once we click the same card twice, if that's the case, why don't we just go prev index dot current equals I, and then let's just like return out, right? So like if there's no prev card, we'll set the index to I. If you click the same card twice, we'll just set the previous index to that card too. Then that way it's just like we're just setting it to the index. And so actually I'm just gonna move this up just to make sure that the flip happens first. And then so, yeah, okay. So now if I click the same card twice, it's going to be updating the index, but it's not going to be like doing anything detrimental. So now if we go back to our README here, so here, if they match, we have to indicate a match and keep the cards flipped up, right? So, so this is like a scenario here where basically we want to see if they match. So we can do a quick check. So we can go like if current card dot symbol equals prev card dot symbol, then we know it's a match, right? And we can go update card status, and we'll pass in both current card and prev card, and we'll set the status to matched, right? So let's see if that works. So we'll flip them. Oh, that was so fast. Okay, so this and this match, boom, now we got it in. So I don't know if you saw the effect. Oh, it's just so fast, it's hard to get a match. I think my brain just doesn't read. There we go, pumpkin, pumpkin. So see, it just like reflipped them. So let's go back into the card component really fast, and let's make the animation conditional on the matched, right? So let's go, oops, so hang on, so I'm just gonna grab this again and go back to animation, sorry, and then paste this in. And then so if it's matched, I wanna go flip in, oh no, I want to do that. What was the tada? Was that the nice one that was from Animate CSS? Tada. Yeah, that one's cool. Okay, let's do tada. And then if it's otherwise, let's do the flip in Y. So there we go. So now if it's matched, it does this nice little woo thing. Hang on, let's do it again. Robot, hey. If not, we have to do the logic for that. Okay, so we have the logic for if they match, indicate a match and flip them up. Here, if they don't match, we gotta flip them back over. So let's go back into our use cards. And so here we have that. Let's do an else. And in the else, what do we want to do? We want to essentially just flip the cards back, but go face down. And then also, I'm just going to want to, because now we've done a match, we just want to reset the prev index to -1, just so everything's good. So let's see how that works. So match, cool, not match. Okay, so the animation, okay, so see, we're setting it to face up, and then we're setting it back to face down, and the animation takes 1 second to trigger, but it's happening, the state update is just happening so quickly that we're not actually seeing the second card even flip. So how can we beat this? We can do a set timeout. And in the set timeout, we can make it wait the duration of a flip, and then that should be a bit better. Okay, so it flips off. Cool. But see, you can keep selecting while it flips. So just like how we did up here, disable current, we can disable the screen for a second just while we wait. So, and then we can't click and we just wait, and then there we go. So it's like, no, we gotta wait. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty good. So let's see if we can get a match really fast. Brain, cool. And then, oh, but see, now I can still, so I need to make it, so you see how even though the brains are matched and selected, I can reselect them even if they've been matched. And so maybe what we want to do is we want to just do something here. Even before the face up, like if curcard.status is matched, then we just maybe just want to return. Like we don't want to change the state if the current card. So let's reload here. Heart, cool. And then if I click it, it does nothing, which is good. Cool. So we fixed that bug. Did we do the whole thing? Is this done? I think so. We're just hammering through this. So let me refresh. So dragon, clown, dragon, clown. Cool. So brain, clover. Can we get something to match? There's clover and clover. Cool. Yeah, I mean, we're getting there. And I think crown was there. Nice. So there we go. Restart loads. Cool. We have 3-second wait. We can create a way for the cards to be flipped front to back. Yeah. We display the cards face up. Allow 2 cards at most to be flipped. Cool. Okay. So let's take a second. We did it, which is great. Let's take a second and just kind of, I'll break down as an interviewer for this live coding test, what I'd be looking for in each step and what they'll be marking you on. So if you're doing this test, create a methodology for the cards to be displayed to the screen with 10 matching pairs. So remember here, we were given this array of 10 symbols. And so step 1 is like, we need to create an array of 20 symbols, right? Because we need to have pairs of 10. And so number 1 is like, can you merge 2 arrays together? Can you create an array of 20 with these symbols in an efficient manner? So here we just spread it in twice into a new array, which works. And then number 2 is something they would look for is like, do you have the ability to do the array functions that are like the methods that are attached to the array? Um, and so sorting, so this is just the sort I've always used, math.random minus 0.5. Um, it's really easy to read and really quick. There might be a better one. If there is, post it in the comments down below. Love to hear. But yeah, so like it's just a way to randomly sort the array. There's maybe other ways you could do it. But I just want to see you can do that. And then we mapped it into an object. You could do this in a lot of ways. You could just return the symbol itself, and then maybe make a second state object that has the statuses, and then do like a lookup because the indexes will be matched or something. I think this is just like a more efficient way to do it. You could do this in so many different ways. You could do this in like a use reducer hook or whatever, but this is just keeping it as simple as possible. Create a way for the cards to be flipped front to back. So here, this is more along the lines of, like we did it in the use cards hook, lifecycle functions of React. Like, do you know, to do a use effect, to have it trigger just on initial render, or maybe if you did your reload button, that just re-triggered the use effect or something. Maybe there's like a state variable that could like restart game or something that would re-trigger the use effect. And then we did the set timeout. And so something we actually forgot here that we should totally have added is a cleanup, especially when we're using like a set timeout. So you can go like const timeout equals set timeout, and then you go like clear timeout as timeout, right? Just like to make sure that you're not not doing a state update after a component has been unmounted. It's going to yell at you for that. So that's kind of nice to do, and so I'm glad I caught that. And then yeah, like we're just like setting the cards, so like we have to change the statuses from face up, which we set by default here, back to face down after 3,000 seconds, and we also did like a little disable ability using his useRef. So that's also nice. Is like, do you know the difference between like a useRef and a useState? Be able to do that. Then we had display the cards face up. We just did that. So allow 2 cards at most to be flipped at a time, and like allow the cards to be flipped. So they gave you the card component. It had an on-click handler, but it didn't really have like the ability to track status. So we added this status prop. We like extended this component to have a new prop of status, and then we conditionally render the symbol, whether it's face up or face down or matched. And then we actually ended up, just based on our styling, we passed the status to style components, and then did kind of, change the border color if it was matched, change the background color if it was face down, and added the animations and stuff. You might not be using style components. You might not want to use style components. That's totally fine. You could do this like by like appending a class, or maybe if you're using like Tailwind or something, you could like conditionally render, like something you can do it in any styling library, but basically just like, are you able to alter the card based on the status or state of the card? That's really important to know. So yeah, so then like the match, so for that we use this previous index useRef just to have kind of like it points to an array variable that doesn't exist initially, and then if if there's no previous card, if the first card clicked or whatever, we're like updating the prev-index ref, and then we're remembering to clear it after we've done the logic of like if there's a match, if there's not a match. For the match, we created this reusable update card status, just because like there's a lot of, basically you're just updating the status over and over again. So it's like, it's just something that makes the repeating code less. And in our case, when they didn't match, we had to flip them back over. Since we were using an animation library that took a second to do, we had to add this like set timeout here. And you wouldn't have, like, let's say you didn't use that, you wouldn't even need the disable or anything, right? You could just, like, if you weren't using like an animation library or there was no delay or whatever, you could just have like an update status like face down, and then that means like maybe you could, put this into like a single line even of code. But we like, it was kind of nice just having like that little like visual effect. I think that like kind of just made the experience a little bit more gamey and like that kind of stuff. We broke this into a hook the use cards hook just because like yeah, there is decent amount of logic here, and it can just I don't know. This is just a personal thing, but like it can just muck up. You know what I mean? Like just having like this is much nicer than having like all this stuff. Um, and so yeah, it keeps yelling at me at this stuff, but like don't worry about that. That's just like set up right now. And so yeah, so it's just just an easier way. We're also conditionally rendering out the cards, right, where they were hard coded to begin with. So like being able to like work with that and not, I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could tackle this thing, and I guarantee you there will be one person in the comments that's like, I could have done it better, and it's like I love it. Post a video or share how you would do it better, right? Like a lot of people just say, "Oh, I could do this better," and then they don't explain how to do it better or post a video about how to do it better. Like I'm happy. Like if someone out there wants to do a live coding interview, like me and them, like I'm super down to do it. Like it'd just be fun. Like this is all about learning. It's all about having a good time, and that's all. Like programming's fun. It's just like you just tackle these fun little things. So. That's what it's about. Anyways, I'll stop preaching. But yeah, I'm Charlie. This is the dev environment. I hope you had a wonderful time. I will see you hopefully very soon. Thanks so much. Bye.